It says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. In the top left-hand corner.
Okay, so you have it, it worked?
No, well, right now it's trying to connect, so I don't know how far you got.
Top left-hand corner. Top left-hand corner, it says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
All right, so I was able to, I'm streaming.
It says live.
Yeah, but however, it's streaming to my channel, so I would have to.
Just send it, can you send the link to me or?
Yeah, Bruce, I just don't know of how much, how locked down my channel was because I used that for when I was teaching. So I don't know if the chat feature is disabled or anything like that.
Well, we'll do our best. Okay, can someone try that link? Please.
Doesn't look like it.
No, it's not. Give it a try again. You know what it is? I gotta save this. That's what happened. Okay, go ahead. Give it a try again. You know what it is? I gotta save this. That's what happened. Okay, go ahead. Give it a try again. You know, I gotta save this. That's what happened.
When I click on the live YouTube in the top left-hand corner of my screen, it brings me to YouTube and I see all of us.
There's a little bit of delay on YouTube, but
Yes.
it's working.
But if you click the arrow button down, it says view stream on YouTube. If you click that, you see us.
But when you
Okay.
click the link on the board site, it doesn't bring you to it.
I wonder if they have to refresh it or close out and start again and resend the link.
Let me try.
Can you email us the link? Could we post the link on social media?
Well, you have the copy streaming link. We could just post.
So should they be clicking on the budget meeting or the BOE meeting?
BOE meeting. Or why, there's two links?
Yeah.
Let me update the other one then.
Okay, so we're on the budget hearing link.
Okay.
So it's working now?
Yes, the budget meeting link, the budget hearing link is live. If anyone's on the other link, I don't believe they're getting us.
Can you delete that other link, Bruce? Can you just delete it so there's no confusion?
I updated both now, so
All right, Stacy, you want to try the other?
I believe we're on both now.
okay, Tom, I need to share my screen.
You're muted, Tom.
I think you have the rights, Bruce. It says all participants can share, so.
Okay, so we'll give some people time to, I don't know if that link is working.
It says 5 people are watching it.
It's going up. It's at 7.
We don't have the presentation out.
Yes, we do.
No, I just
That's
didn't.
I see it.
I'm seeing it.
That's not it, though.
That's just our start before we do the pledge.
Oh, okay.
But you have the real presentation, right, Bruce?
No, it was never.
Tom,
Okay.
I'm just getting. And now it's working. Okay. let's give the public a few more minutes to get on. Tom, once we start, we also need to record this, please. Tom, I think you're muted. I don't know. Did you?
Okay, starting with the pledge or right after that?
Right before I start, when I greet everybody, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Bruce, do you have the actual presentation?
No.
Tom has it.
All right.
For all the public that's on, we're just gonna give everybody a few more minutes to get on. For all the public that's on, we're just gonna give.
Bruce, the numbers don't seem to be climbing right now. I think we should get started before we lose anybody. Bruce, you think we should get started before we start losing people?
Okay, I'm getting something from Donna Jabali that's telling me that there's there's something that says a lot of people can't get in. So I'm wondering if they're on the wrong link.
They have to refresh the board page and then either link works, but they just need to refresh that board page.
Okay. I'll tell her to refresh the board page.
Okay, I'm back. I took down the
Okay.
other picture and I added a message there. Please use new link on that was just posted. So hopefully someone finds that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're all set to go then?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes,
Tom,
just-
can,
I was just going to say, we just want to make an announcement. There's a typo. This is the presentation for May 27th, not March 27th.
okay.
Okay.
Uh,
In case anybody thought they were in the wrong place.
Tom, can you start the recording, please?
Okay, it's running.
Okay, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody. This is our annual budget presentation. It's a little bit different this year. We're doing this on YouTube, which we're not used to doing. Normally we take questions. You ask you to step to the mic and state your name. Obviously, we can't do that tonight, but we have a provision where if you email something to the Board of Ed, it's we had it up earlier. It's BOE@mail.seaford.k12.ny.us. We'll try to get to all those questions after the presentation. Also, after the presentation, we're going to have our regular board meeting. And those comments need to have been sent in prior to the meeting. So we're not going to be able to answer live comments or questions during the regular board meeting, only for the budget meeting. And there is a difference. The budget meeting is considered a public meeting, whereas the board meeting is considered a meeting that we conduct in public. It's not really a public meeting. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over. I guess Marie's going first.
Well, it's the three of us.
Okay, so
So
Dr. Pecora, Mr. Striffolino, and our Miss Donnelly, our business official, are going to present tonight's budget presentation. So please take it away.
Okay, so good evening. First, I want to thank everybody that participated in the budget development process. As you can imagine, it was particularly challenging this year in this pandemic environment. So, you know, again, personally, I would like to thank my co-presenters, Mr. Striffolino, Ms. Donnelly, and once again, Mr. Lynch. He's done an excellent job in helping us format the presentation and create everything that you're going to be seeing tonight. So he's also my clicker. So Mr. Lynch, if you can go to the next slide, please. So one of the things that I had just mentioned was the difficulty or the differences in developing a budget in the environment that we're currently in. So some of the obvious things are normally, as Mr. Khan said, we would be all in a room at the Manor or at the high school, and we'd be presenting the budget hearing, and there would be able to be some participation that would be live participation. The budget presentations this year are going to be done virtually. So of course, there's the budget hearing tonight for the Board of Education. On June 1st, we're going to be presenting to the PTSA SEPTA group. And then we're going to have faculty presentations, and then some community groups may be interested in our presenting budget information as well. And we're willing to do that, particularly in this unique environment. Also, another major change this year is that the budget vote is all absentee ballot, and it's occurring much later. So typically the budget vote occurs in May. The budget vote's going to occur on June 9th, a much later date. And again, it's all absentee ballot. There is no in-person voting. Another difference this year, as I know all of you have heard in the news, is the unpredictability of the state aid. So Ms. Donnelly will speak more about this, but we're in a precarious situation at this moment in time because we don't know what's going to happen with state aid, and based upon what the governor's saying, we could suffer a loss of millions of dollars, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then with all those factors factoring into our current position, we're now in a position that more than ever, we're reliant on the Seaford community for maintaining the programs that we've established and carrying us forward. Mr. Lynch? So I just wanted to elaborate a little bit about the voting process this year, because I think it's important. Executive Order 202.26 permits that all qualified voters vote by absentee ballot for the budget as well as for the trustees. Pursuant to Education Law 2012, the requirements for a qualified voter are as such. You have to be a citizen of the United States, at least 18 years of age, and then a resident of the district for a period of 30 days preceding the election, so 30 days prior to June 9th. And then there's no other thing that prohibits somebody. So for example, if somebody's been declared mentally incompetent, that person would not be able to vote. You'll hear us repeat this over a couple of times in the presentation, that all the voting is by absentee ballots. They have to be received by our district clerk by 5 p.m. on June 9th in order to be counted. And again, we'll give you more specific information about the exact voting process as we go forward. At this point in time, talking more specifically about the budget itself, I'm going to pass the presentation over to Ms. Donnelly so she can elaborate a bit more as to what's in the budget.
Thank you, Dr. Pecora. So for the 2020-21 school year, our proposed budget is $73,005,631. That equates to a 3.32% increase budget to budget and a 3.58% tax levy increase. Next slide, please. So when we look at a budget, we of course have the tax cap that we have to deal with. And just a little refresher, the tax cap was enacted in 2011. The purpose of the tax levy limit calculation, which is also known as the tax cap, is that it provides us with a levy limit that the state deems affordable by our community. Our goal in building a budget is to preserve our programs, of course, but we also remain sensitive. We're weighing and balancing the burden of the taxes on the community with what the programs need to survive and to continue. In our history, Seaford has never sought to exceed the tax levy limit, and this budget that we're putting forth is a budget that is within the tax levy limit. In order to pass a budget within the tax levy limit, we need a simple majority of 50%. And in the past, we've had that from the Seaford voters. They've always supported our budgets. Next slide, please. So this gives you here a history of our tax levy. In the middle column, you'll see what the tax levy limit is, or the tax cap is the more popular term. And then on the far right, you'll see our tax levy for each of those corresponding school years. And it's important to note that for this 9-year span, only 2 years did we not go up to the tax cap limit. It's for the 9-year period, only those 2 years that we didn't go. And you'll notice also too that the 13-14 school year is similar to where we are right now. I also just want to note that the 19-20 school year, you see the asterisk there, that's amended because we had a new BOCES capital exclusion last year. So if you did see our presentations from last year, our original number was 4.04, and that was amended because there was a new BOCES capital exclusion that we had to put into place. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is our budget components. These are the 3 parts of our budget that we have to put forth to explain to the public and to the board how our budget is divided up. So you'll see the 3 components are administrative, program, and capital. The administrative is all expenditures related to the school board, superintendent, district clerk, the school business office, the building and department administrative offices and their support staff, district insurance policies, BOCES administrative services. The capital refers to all building repairs, restoration, debt service, operation of plant and maintenance. And the largest portion of our budget components, which is always what we want to have, is program. That's what we're here for, to educate the kids. And it's all the things, the expenditures that go into making sure that we provide those services, the technology, the teachers, the curriculum, the food service, the legal services, et cetera. although this budget cannot be increased going forward. So that what we're presenting here tonight, the board adopted back in May. It's important to note that we can't go past this amount. We can't increase the budget at this point. So what we're showing you right now is the maximum amount that we can go forth with. Next slide, please, Tom. These are our budget revenues. You'll note that, of course, the largest is our property tax levy, which is something that we rely on heavily. In the red, you'll see state aid, and it's depicted in red here for a reason. As Dr. Pecora mentioned earlier, the state aid is kind of up in the air right now. We need to proceed with caution because we don't know what's going to happen going forward. You know, we're waiting for the governor's office to give us more information, but right now this is a projection that the state provided, and that number is at risk right now. Next slide, please. So I would just summarize here a little bit of the difference of what we're seeing here between a normal budget period and a pandemic budget. Normally, we receive about 19% in state aid, and that's been about the last 5 years. We've hovered around the 19% mark. Our state aid at 19% is something we rely on, and we normally receive our initial projections back in January. We get a second set of projections in late March, early April, and that's really what we rely upon for our budget when we're putting forth our budget and, you know, getting all of our figures together. This year, however, because that number is up in the air, it's a different situation for us. The governor's office has announced that they can go 3 times this year and look back at, you know, what their revenues are and potentially make adjustments to what we're seeing. So right now, we've already seen a state aid decrease 3 times during the year. So the first look back period was April 30th. They can also look back again on June 30th and December 31st. We're still waiting for the information from the April 30th look back period. We don't know what's going to happen. We could potentially lose millions of dollars in aid. They've been throwing out the number of 20%, but no information really has come back to us. So we're concerned about that. And without that state aid funding being fully funded, we're even more reliant on our tax levy than ever. And I will turn over the next portion of the presentation to my colleague, Mr. John Anthony Striffolino.
Thank you, Mrs. Donnelly. So this budget has been prepared to preserve what we've developed over the last few years and to continue progressing our district forward in a positive direction. Now, I've been in this district a long time, and I am very proud of what we've been able to accomplish and build recently. We are looking to keep Seaford strong. The slide shows some of the main areas that I'll go into more detail: our instructional technology, the new academic programs and materials, additional advanced placement opportunities, pupil personnel services and mental health enhancements, our extra help program for all, and the additional instructional time that's been added at the secondary level, and expansion of athletics and extracurricular. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide displays our personalized digital learning initiative, where we've added one-to-one mobile computers to our staff and students. In this area, we've really been playing catch up to some other districts who've had mobile devices for a number of years. We've done a lot in a short time. In the fall of 2017, 0 one-to-one computers. June 2018, faculty and grades 6 and 9 received computers. During the school year 2018, 2019, 3 additional grade levels received mobile devices. And by the fall of 2019, 100% of middle school had mobile devices. 75% of the high school had mobile devices. 4th and 5th graders in both elementary schools had classroom carts, and other grade levels had access to carts. So a lot has happened in the last 3 years. Next, okay. And this is basically a bar graph showing our growth over the last 3 years in terms of computers. So in 2018, 800 devices. 18-19, another 805 devices. 2019-2020, this year, we've had another 740 devices. So total devices in the last 3 years, 2,345. That includes teachers, administrative, and classroom carts. I'd like to point out there are also an additional 250 iPads for the primary grades and the elementary libraries. And moving along. So let's look at some progression here from 2017 to 2020. At the high school, a variety of AP courses in various subjects. We've now added the prestigious AP Capstone program. Back in 2017, we had 233 students taking 502 AP exams, increased to 268 students taking 579 AP exams. Now, when I talk about AP exams and AP courses, I'm talking about advanced placement classes. These are classes that culminate in a final assessment, which if a student scores a 3 or higher, it can potentially lead to college credit. AP Capstone has its own levels of distinction. In particular is the AP Capstone Diploma. To be eligible for this, the student needs to earn a 3 or higher in AP Seminar and AP Research, and a 3 or higher on 4 additional AP exams of their choosing. This diploma is looked upon very favorably by colleges during the application process. So we're showing some growth over the last 3 years, but I must say we've dramatically increased our AP enrollment over the course of a number of years. And credit goes to Mr. Burson and his staff. To round out some of the other things that have been added, if you look at the high school, the extra help, that portion of time was included during instructional time. Now we've moved it to after school. And by doing so, we've been able to add 100 more minutes of instructional time per week. Our science research program was in its beginning stages. We've now advanced, we have students entering and succeeding in notable competitions. Our social and emotional learning was done through half-year health classes and some nice assemblies. We've now implemented a program, Lions Quest, where all kids have access to it. We've had our traditional electives, and we've been adding some based on student interest, particularly the English 12 electives. We've got criminal justice. We've added some marketing courses, again, driven by student interest. An aging sports complex. If you've seen, we have a new track and field. And in our career development program, we've had a traditional cadre of job sites. We now have expanded that to include new job sites. Our Best Buddies program, a great program, had kids involved in basketball. We've now added other activities, soccer and bowling. We also have an assistive technology coordinator. I put that on the slide, but it really is district-wide to help kids who need to have assistive technology for them to be successful and to access curriculum. We can move on, Tom. Okay, here we are at the middle school. So back in 2017, we had 25% of our 8th graders in Regents Living Environment. This year, we have 100% students taking Regents Living Environment. Our world language in 7th grade at one time was half a year. It's now been expanded to a full year. We were utilizing some of the modules and other materials for 6th grade math. We now have continuity from 5th grade to 6th grade by implementing the Go Math program for 6th grade. We taught a traditional technology course in 8th grade that's been revamped to include robotics and programming. We had 7th and 8th grade combined sports teams. Recently, we added 4 7th grade sports teams. Again, we had a group of variety of clubs. We've added some new clubs aimed at student interest. Got a lot of complaints about those heavy backpacks or those heavy hardcover textbooks. We've been moving to digital textbooks. And again, our social emotional learning was done through our health program, our courses, and our Ask program. Again, we've implemented Lions Quest here at the middle school. Integrated co-teach classes were for ELA, math, and science. We've now added self studies. Our career development program had been in the same room for a number of years. We've remodeled the whole new space and added some very nice new equipment. And something that I know the middle school has been pushing for a long time is we've had one guidance counselor for the entire school. We've now added an additional guidance counselor. And that's really important to support our mental health of our students and faculty. And especially in this time of the pandemic, that's going to be really needed. So that's really important. And again, the extra help time here was during the instructional day. It was called self-help. It was 18 minutes. Now we have that beyond the school day. So we've been able to add 72 minutes of additional instruction time. And on Fridays, we've still been able to maintain our ASK program. Okay, let's move on to the elementary school. So we were utilizing the ELA modules and domains, and we've launched the research-based Teachers College Reading and Writing Project. Again, our teachers were having science instruction in the classroom. We've now added STEAM enrichment activities and Project Lead the Way. We had an older version of Go Math. We've updated that to the newest version of Go Math with online resources. We were using Second Step, which was an older program for our social emotional learning. Again, we've implemented Lion's Quest. We had a group of clubs, again, based on student interest. We've added some clubs over the years. We've been doing a lot with social emotional learning in terms of mindfulness activities. We've now adopted the habits of mind. Years ago, we had a technology person at the elementary school, and we lost that position. We've now added a position where kids are receiving instruction in coding and keyboarding. And again, we have classroom instruction for math. We now offer the Math Olympiads program. We never had a formal extra help period at the elementary school. We now have extra help session after school. And there aren't guidance counselors at the elementary school, but the one that we added at the middle school spends time in both elementary schools. So elementary school children do have access to our guidance counselors. So as you can see, a lot has happened in the last few years, and we're looking to preserve that and expand that. Thank you.
Okay, so we just like to highlight, of course, I'm not going to repeat the things that Mr. Striffolino just elaborated on, but we wanted to show that there's a lot in this budget that supports children and supports their learning, and then also supports the infrastructure of the Seaford School District. So the top 6 boxes there are basically some of the things that Mr. Striffolino had said, and I do want to elaborate and also point out that we've done a tremendous amount of professional development in the area of instructional technology, in the areas of literacy with Teachers College Readers and Writers, in the areas of mathematics with Go Math training. So the professional development is ongoing, and it's something that we hold near and dear to our hearts because we truly believe that as educators, we are constantly learning and growing. So with that, I'd like to address some of the boxes that are on the bottom part of this slide and talk a little bit about something that's in the budget this year, the Northwell Mental Health Services. So as I'm sure many people have heard on the news, there's a particular concern about the effect of the pandemic on different families, on adolescents, on the vast and varying degree to which children may be responding to our current environment. So the Northwell Mental Health Services is a program that's offered as a COSER through BOCES, and we worked hand in hand with Northwell and South Oaks. And it provides us access to a psychiatrist that the district would have access to twice a month. And in addition to that, Northwell acts as the liaison for us. So when we have students that parents would like to provide them with services, sometimes the most challenging aspect of that is that to find a therapist that will accept the parent's insurance. So what the Northwell relationship does for us is they serve as a liaison between us and people that will accept the insurance. And they've had a wonderful track record. It's part of the program. And we just felt this is a support that would be K through 12 and would be available to all of our students. And particularly in this environment, I think it's a wonderful thing that we currently have in the budget. I'd also like to point out that when we're taking a look at the work that students have done over the last couple of months, some parents and educators also have addressed the concern of perhaps some regression that may take place in a remote environment versus an in-class environment, or additional regression over the summer. So we did have a benchmark assessment, the STAR assessment. The NWA, the Northwest Evaluation Association assessment, is a bit more comprehensive. It gives very nice baseline information. It gives reports that would be shared with parents that are readily understandable. And it does give certain skills that we can target to show where students are progressing and in fact are exceeding what children may be doing at their grade level, and also students where they may need some additional support. So that NWA is also in this current budget. And for the last 3 years, we've been continuing to make security enhancements to the district. And this is what I was talking about when I originally said maintaining our infrastructure for the Seaford School District. So this year we added a lockdown system. So if we need to lock down the school, a button has hit, blaring lights go on, they're blue strobe lights that go off, and the building goes into lockdown and the doors lock. The added feature this year is what we want to put in the budget is for the security access system. We want to upgrade that. So not only will the doors lock, but the badges won't work. So the new swipe access system will activate, once the lockdown is hit, it'll activate all the swipes to become deactivated, and it guarantees that nobody would be able to get into the building. So that would be the enhancement that we're adding this year. And last but not least, over the last couple of budget cycles, we've replaced ceiling tiles at the middle school and at the Manor. The Harbor is the next building to receive the replacement of the ceiling tiles. Again, it's part of our infrastructure, but it's also very important because I know we've presented in prior presentations the fact that we were awarded Smart Schools Bond Act monies. We have about a $1.1 million project that is actually right now currently going on. The first building where we're enhancing connectivity through new wiring and creating new hotspots to support our digital environment. And the work that's being done here at the Harbor is going to be done at the high school and the middle school. At the Harbor, we would like to do that work since the wiring is going to take place in the ceilings simultaneously with replacing the ceiling tiles. So we're hoping to get that work going this summer, so that when the wiring goes into the Harbor, we will also have all the brand new ceiling tiles up and running at the Harbor. So we proceed to the next slide. So with that robustness, you know, the obvious question is what happens if the budget doesn't pass? What happens if the budget fails? And in a normal circumstance, we would have time for a revote. The Executive Order 202.67 does not give any specific date for a budget revote. And at this point in time, without further guidance from the Governor's Office with a date of June 9th, it appears to us that the only opportunity to vote on the budget is going to be on June 9th. So right now, if the budget doesn't pass, then the district would be in a position where they would have to adopt a contingency budget. And this is not something we ever like to speak about, but I think it's important for the voters to know in this particular year, there may not be a do-over. There may not be a second opportunity to vote on the school budget. So if we proceed to the next slide, we can identify some of the things that would happen. So the ramifications of operating under a contingency budget would mean that we would have a reduction of $1,901,670, which would impact, we'd have to take a look at reducing academic programs, staffing, athletic and extracurricular. There wouldn't be any late bus services for our students or for parochial schools or private schools that use our busing. It prohibits us by law from purchasing new equipment. So furniture and student laptops, two items that we really do need with the unpredictable nature of the of what the school environment may be in September and where this pandemic and the virus may take us. Those are two things that we really do need to invest in with this budget. We would not be able to purchase that. And then there would be no community use of facilities if, in fact, you know, we are back at school next year, which I'm sure we will be at some point. And last but not least, capital construction projects such as the ceiling tiles at the Harbor would not would not be able to take place. Next slide, please. So, you know, our theme really is remaining Seaford strong, because I think we have a wonderful comprehensive academic program that not only focuses on academics, but it focuses on the whole child. And Mr. Lynch did a really nice job just putting together a little slideshow so we can show the board the various aspects of our programs and what the budget's supporting. So depicted in this along the way, you've seen 8th grade social studies classes, our science research program, celebrating our seniors, the success of our cheerleaders, our football team, the Teachers College program. There's Mr. Burson. I believe that was at 9/11. And there's a whole array of activities that we provide and programs that we provide for our students that it would be really hard pressed to find a better academic program with regards to diversity, appeal to students' interest, and the dedication of our teachers. And besides for creating the programs themselves, we create an environment where students feel like they belong. And I think that's one of the most special things about Seaford is what is meant by Seaford Pride and the sense of belonging that every community member here has. And we like to instill that in our students and grow their sense of Seaford pride. Can we go to the next slide? So ending on this positive note, what we'd like you to remember is that obviously today is the budget hearing. The PTA presentation, if you'd like to hear a similar presentation again, the PTA sent out invites to everybody. That's going to be on June 1st. And then the annual budget vote will be on June 9th. Well, you have to get your ballots in by June 9th, and I'll give you a little bit more information about that next. Okay, so the most important person through this whole process of the budget vote is Ms. Ouellette, our district clerk. Her telephone number is listed on the slide as well as her email address. So if for some reason you have not gotten an absentee ballot, we are mailing out absentee ballots with also a return stamped envelope for people to easily return their ballots to the district. So you should be receiving that shortly. If you don't receive one, please email her or call her and we'll make sure that you get one. Given the fact that when we were notified of when the budget vote was going to be, we realized everything being done manually and people not being able to come in and vote in person. We want to make sure that we have an alternative for people. So if you don't feel like you can get your ballot back in the mail in time, then we're making sure that there's a lockbox available at the Manor Elementary School. It'll be in the vestibule. There'll be a security guard there that would be able to buzz you in. And starting June 1st, so from June 1st through June 8th, the hours where you would be able to drop off your ballot would be between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And then on June 9th, which is the very last day and the very last time is 5 p.m. that we can receive the ballots. So on June 9th, the lockbox will be available from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Next slide, please. So Mr. Khan had mentioned that if you have any questions regarding the budget, that you can email them here, and then we'd be able to respond to that. So I'm going to give everybody a couple of minutes to email any questions they may have. And I'm going to turn this over to the Board of Education and ask whether you have any questions for Mr. Straffolino, Ms. Donnelly, or myself.
I'd like to thank you, Dr. Pecora. You know, we've spoken about the budget over many months. So, you know, this really was for the public, this public meeting. So I don't have any questions. Obviously, I'll ask my fellow board members. Anybody have any questions?
I don't have any.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
No questions. Thank you.
And just to add to it, I know I received a few emails this past week, you know, people questioning, you know, why are we at the tax cap? You know, things are bad out there. You know, some people may be losing their jobs. And the real reason is we really were not left with much choice. As was mentioned earlier by Ms. Donnelly, the governor can cut our state aid up to 3 times during the year. So that if we went below our tax cap, that would leave us no room, and we would have to really make major cuts to our programs, possibly cut staff, increase class sizes. You know, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but those are really the facts. When the governor's talking about 20% cut to school aid and our state aid altogether is 13 million, you know, that's about 2.6 million if he's talking about cutting right off the top. So that's really why we went to the tax cap. You know, last year it was, as the slides show, it was 4 point something, and we only came in at 2.99. You know, we always try to just ask what we need from the community. Stacy, did anything come in?
No, Bruce, nothing. I've refreshed it numerous times and I see no emails come in.
Okay, we'll just wait another minute. Does anybody from the board want to add anything to my comments or anything else that was said earlier?
Not me. It's a tough year.
No, thank you, Bruce. And just that the presentation really showed how far Seaford has come and all the programs that, you know, we have in place and what's necessary moving forward. I think it was very comprehensive and informative. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to say, you know, a budget is much more than just a financial plan. It's our values and, you know, what we think is important for our children and the district. And just thank you to the Central Administration Office for tonight's presentation.
Yeah, I can't really add to anything anybody said. It pretty much covered it all. Thank you, guys.
Okay, nothing, Stacy?
No, Bruce, nothing.
Okay, so if anybody thinks of anything after this meeting's over, you can always email the Board of Ed or contact our business official, central administration, if you feel that question is more in their ballpark than the board's. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to ask Mr. Lynch to please stop the recording of the public hearing at this time. Okay, so at this time, Mr. Lynch, if you can start a recording back up now. Okay, thank you. So at this time, I'm going to open up our regular Board of Educational meeting for May 27th. We already had an exec session earlier at 5:30. So we're just going to move on with our regular agenda item. First thing on the agenda is Dr. Pecora's administrative report. So please.
Okay, so at the last board meeting, we had done a presentation on remote instruction, and we ended the presentation by saying that we were going to be starting a reopening of school task force, and that a survey would be posted on the website for parents and guardians to fill out an application. And we were really overwhelmed by the interest. You know, I'm happy to report that there were 72 parents and guardians that were interested in being on the committee. We originally were thinking of having 3 or 4 parents on the committee, and given the interest, we've expanded to a total of 9 parents on the committee. That represents at least 2 in each building, and then we also have varying interests. The reason why we had the survey written the way it was is because we want to make sure that we have multiple perspectives at the table. So for all of you who showed interest, we're really excited about that. We appreciate today on the agenda is going to be appointing members of that committee, first establishing the ad hoc committee task force, and then appointing the members. What I will say is people that were not selected, it was a very hard choice, but people that weren't selected for the committee, what we're going to try to do, it depends upon how much time we have to really put together a draft plan. We're going to try to put together a focus group where people that have an interest in this can come forth and they can hear what the plan looks like ahead of time, and just for us to get some feedback. So letters went out to all members, and if you weren't initially selected for the committee, you were told that if we put this focus group in place, you will be invited to come and participate. And we really hope that people do that, because that's how we get the best feedback regarding what we plan on doing for next school year. I also want to thank the teachers. We had an overwhelming support of the number of teachers that wanted to participate on the committee. There was a similar application process, and I thank Ms. Glancy and Mr. Straffolino for assisting with selecting members for the committee via that avenue. And then there'll be administrators and directors for security and our school nurse, and there'll be a whole cadre of people that we really need to be on that committee in order for us to be able to make prudent decisions about what we're going to be doing next year. So that being said, there's going to be more to come on the task force. We're having our first meeting on June 2nd, and we look forward to meeting everybody. With that being said, things are moving ahead, as I'm sure everybody has heard from the governor's updates. Summer school is going to be taking place remotely in New York State. So it's the same here in Seaford. Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Straffolino and also Dr. Leone. They're taking the lead on planning for summer school with the two directors, Ms. Nancy Preffer and Laura Lieba. So we are very much looking forward to establishing some supports for children that will be available over the summer. Next, probably the hottest topic for tonight, based upon some of the emails that I've received, is the revision of the district calendar. So on the agenda tonight for board approval is revising the district calendar, making the last day of school June 15th. That's to account for the days during April recess and also May 22nd, where students and staff were in school. And last but not least, I just want to point out that remote instruction will be going up through June 15th. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is tomorrow, the community will be getting a letter from me, finalizing hopefully the approval of the calendar, and then also talking about a couple of items for the end of the year. I'm sure students and parents are very eager to find out about getting students' personal items from the schools. So the week of June 8th, the building principals will be giving you more information with regards to that. But during the week of June 8th, you will be able to pick up your students' items. Now, what that means is, in an abundance of caution, and then also keeping in mind the executive order and the legal requirements of the executive order, with only essential workers supposed to be in schools. What we are doing is that our staff members, custodians, aides, and at the elementary level, the teachers have been wonderful, and they're going to come in and help pack up the students' belongings. So they're going to be cleaning out lockers, gym lockers, and then the week of the 8th, parents will be able to come with their students, pick up the personal items, and then it's also going to be like an exchange, not like a currency exchange, but like a academic kind of exchange, where we get back the items that students have, their textbooks, their calculators, their band uniforms, all things like that. And we give your personal items and you give us the things that belong to the Seaford School District so that we have them for the following school year. And last but not least, at the last board meeting, we said we were going to provide an update with regards to remote learning and live instruction. So before I introduce Mr. Straffolino, I would just like to thank the entire Seaford community for your patience and support during our transition to remote learning. It has been a very stressful situation, I think, for all parties. I'd like to extend gratitude to the board for your support, to the administrators for your leadership, for the teachers for your tireless effort in keeping our students engaged in learning. And a special thank you to the parents. So many of the parents have supported their children in their learning in ways that probably went outside of people's comfort zones, but they did it, and they did it with love. And we do appreciate your partnership. I know the teachers appreciate it. I know the administrators appreciate it. Central office appreciates it. So parents, thank you for all that you do. And we have a couple of more weeks, so hang in there. And last but not least, to the students, I admire your resiliency, your flexibility, and also your desire to keep learning. So thank you very, very much for sticking with us and making this successful for our students. And with that, I am going to pass the baton on to Mr. Struffolino so he can give us a little bit of an update.
Thank you very much, and thank you for stealing my opening line. I want to update everyone on our phase 3 live instruction. And the first thing I just want to do is I want to acknowledge all the administrators, all the teachers, all the parents working very hard at home, and the students. It's been a very different experience, but everyone's working very hard. And I just want you to know we acknowledge everyone's efforts, and we're very thankful. And as Dr. Bakora has said, it has been a very stressful time for everyone, but we're going to get through it because we're Seaford and we remain strong. So Mr. Lynch and I prepared a survey that went out to the staff to kind of get a feel on how things were going with the live instruction. So I can share with you some results of the survey. First of all, we had a very high percentage of teachers completing the survey, which was good. And it was a good representation of the district, the 4 buildings. We concentrated on a few areas. The first area was attendance, in terms of how many kids were actually on during the live instruction, taking into consideration that there might be certain factors going on in the homes that might affect attendance, and we're well aware of that. So in looking at attendance, 75% of the time, teachers had between 50 and 100% of the students engaged in live instruction. 52% of the time, we had between 75 and 100% of the students engaged in live instruction. We also asked the teachers to comment on student compliancy, and that was a very, very favorable score. The kids have been compliant when they've been on live instruction. Then we went to the length of live instruction, asking teachers what the average amount of time that their sessions were. Almost everyone is doing live instruction at least 20 minutes. There were only 2 teachers out of the huge amount that completed the survey, and I have a funny feeling it might be with the younger kids in terms of dipping a little below 20 minutes. But 80% of our teachers are teaching at least a 25-minute session or more. 50% of our teachers are going at least 30 minutes or more per session. Then we took a look at student participation. And again, I think you have to take this with a grain of salt. Again, everyone's getting used to this new way of learning, and people might be a little more reluctant to participate. But the numbers here are, in terms of participation, 64% of the time, at least 25% of the kids are actually participating, responding. 44% of the time, over 50% of the students are responding and participating. And then 25% of the time, over 75% of the students are responding. We also asked the teachers to send us comments about technology problems. And there have been a few bumps in the road, but I had to compliment Mr. Lynch and all our technicians and the depot for really stepping up and problem solving. And there were a lot of comments giving credit to him and his staff. We also gave the teachers additional comments just to talk about this new world that we're living. And the themes were, it's a work in progress. Each session they do, it becomes that much smoother. And I think it becomes more comfortable for the children to participate. Everyone thinks it's nice that people are able to actually see each other and react to each other, engage each other. Sometimes it's a little tough to monitor the students' attention. They might be a little distracted. Again, it's not a classroom. But no matter what you do, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of many people with remote learning, nothing is going to replace the in-person connection relationship of a teacher and students together. So we're doing the best we can. But that's some preliminary information on live instruction.
Thank you, Mr. Struffolino.
Thank you, John. Any questions for Mr. Straffolino or Dr. Pecora?
No, none from me.
Okay. Before we go on with our agenda, I think there was something came in late I saw that was forwarded about the budget vote. There's actually, the ballot this year is going to be a little bit different than everyone's used to. For the school district, you're going to see, it's going to ask you to vote yes or no on the budget. There's also 2 trustee positions up, and there'll be 3 people running for the 2 spots. On the other side of the ballot, the right side of the ballot, we're actually going to be, you're going to be voting on the library budget this year. And also there's 2 seats for the library. I believe only 1 person is running for each of those seats. So this year, the library was not able to do their own budget vote, and they asked us to do it. And your ballot will be covering both the school district and the library. So I just want to clear that up. Okay. Moving on to our action items. I need a motion for agenda item 4.1 and 2.
Move it?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Andrea, you want to unmute? Andrea?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I had to step out for a moment. Yes.
We just voted on item 4.1 and 4.2.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to our contracts. Can we do them all together?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Agenda item 5A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Move it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have 2 resolutions, actually 3 resolutions. I'm going to do each one separate. The first one is for the board committee that Dr. Pecora was talking about earlier. So I need a motion for agenda item 5B1.
Move it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just going to quickly read off these names. We have 2 board members, Andrea Parisi and Natalie Pedicic, on the committee. From Central Administration, Adele Pecora, John Straffolino, Rhonda Mescarole, Thomas Lynch, Charles Leone. From PPS, we have our director, Mary Catherine Cuella's son. We have our principals from the high school, Scott Burson, the middle school, Dan Smith, the manor, Deb Emmerich. We also have our director of facilities, Russell Costa. We have our lead nurse, Lorraine Burke. We have Margaret Savini from our transportation office, and Don Bardo, our head of security. We have 2 teachers, one from the manor, one from the harbor, Anne Marie Matisi and Christine Donnelly. We have 1 middle school teacher, Michael Burns. We have a high school teacher, Tanya Seterino. We have somebody from PPS, Stacy Ranzi. We have 2 of our chair people that are working in the high school, Anthony Romeo and Curtis Tripoli. We have 2 special ed teachers, one from the elementary, one from the secondary, Margaret Glancy and Christina Capasso. And we have parents from the manor. We have 2 parents, Maureen Erickson, Amanda Sanganelli. We have 2 harbor parents, Linda Rogdagas and Teresa Tanazzo. From the middle school, we have 2 parents, Michael Spinella and Serena Sauter, and 2 parents from the high school, Sergio Weber and Hank Salpour. We also have a parent who's has some medical experience. They're a manor parent, but they're really, because of the medical experience, they were added, and that's David Soletta. So I want to thank everybody for volunteering for this. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's something that we need done. Moving on, I need a motion for agenda item 5B2.
Move it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Need a motion for agenda item 5B3.
Move it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, last thing up that many people were waiting for is our school calendar. Need a motion for agenda item 5C1.
Move it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to go around, and if anybody has any comments, please say. I'm going to start with you, Kevin.
No, just no comments tonight.
Okay, Andrea.
No, thank you, Bruce.
Okay, Stacy.
I just want to thank everyone for their support. I want to thank administration and everybody for the presentations this evening. I think we've been very well educated on numerous items over the past few months. And the amount of information that we've been receiving, I feel, has been great. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Natalie.
Good, Bruce, thank you.
John.
Just that we got a couple of more weeks with the new calendar. Everyone just needs to hang in there and do the best they can.
Okay, Marie.
I'd just like to thank the clerical and custodial staffs for their immense support with getting the ballots out, and just people watch your mail. It's coming soon. Thank you.
Dell.
Just a couple of things. I just want to point out that the new calendar will be on the website, so people can check that out. We also have our budget spotlight, which you'll be getting in the mail sometime next week, but that's also on our website right now on the district site. I want to say if you see a custodian or an aide or an elementary teacher, give them a special thank you, because they are cleaning out the students' lockers and gym lockers and desks in the school. And we really appreciate the collective spirit with which everybody has risen to the occasion to make sure that we can do that. I want to echo what Ms. Donnelly said, and thank you so much to the clerical and custodial and the security guards as well for putting everything together to make this kind of miracle happen in a very short period of time. We had to do this monumental effort of getting all these ballots out, and everybody has risen to the occasion. So thank you so much. And I just want to say the task force looks enormous, but we're breaking up into subcommittees because so much work has to be done in a short period of time. So at that first meeting, people will be broken into subcommittees, and everybody can put their reading glasses on, because the reading packet will be sent out so people can have some fun activities over the weekend, committee members. So with that, I'd say thank you very much. We appreciate your support, and I'm very appreciative. And again, Ms. Donnelly, Mr. Striflino, and Mr. Lynch, thank you so much for the work that you've done on the last couple of presentations. Greatly appreciate it.
And just I'm going to echo thanks to everybody, teachers, parents, administrators, the whole community. Please come out and vote. And with that, though, I want to let everybody know the odds are we're not going to have the results that evening. I know we're used to that. The polls usually close at 9. We usually have the results by 10:30. This year, even though the ballots are closing at 5, everything has to be counted by hand. Usually we have between 1,600 and 1,800 votes. We're mailing out over 13,000 ballots. So depending how many come back, we may not know late till the next day. They're going to be starting to count those at 5 that evening, but we're not going to keep people till 2, 3 in the morning. We're going to count till about 10 or 11, and they'll come back at 8 the next morning and finish up. With that, I need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing contract agreements with the clerical unit. And upon completion of discussion respecting the foregoing, to return to open session.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just want the public to know, after we come out of exec, we're just going to be adjourning the public meeting. There'll be no business conducted. So it's not going to be on YouTube live. So I thank everybody, and please look in your mail for the spotlight and your ballots and your 6-day notice. And please just come out and vote. So thank you. Mr. Lynch, if you can stop the recording, please.
Bruce will use the other Zoom password to go back in.
I don't know if we can use that meeting again. I may have to set up another meeting.
I think you have to set up another meeting, Bruce.
Can we just
Oh, okay.
can we just invite everybody straight, or we have to go?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, just to make sure that nobody's still lingering, I would always go back out and come back in.
Yes.
Into what though?
We're still on. We're still live.
So I'm going to end this meeting right now, Mr. Khan, and then that will stop the live stream.